Hi and welcome to my PlayHouse, and today we're gonna have a look at this Lenovo SR650, which I've been waiting for a while. But first, this video is sponsored by Exfo. Exfo is a network analyzing and monitoring company that produces equipment for analyzing and monitoring network connections. The company is located in Canada and they produce high-end equipment. This is the smallest unit they have, which I have already done a video on when you see this, or I might just be releasing that video when you see this. So check them out, links in the description. But here we have the Lenovo SR650. This is a 2U high-end enterprise server. It handles the entire range of Intel scalable CPUs, from the very smallest to the very largest, which you shouldn't use because that is way too expensive to put in this one because there is only 2 sockets. But let's do an unboxing of this and see what I have purchased. Lenovo servers are available in different sizes. They make some servers that you can get right out of the box. You know, it will have a CPU, it will have an amount of RAM, it will probably not have a hard drive, but well, they have some standards that you can order. This one is not a standard, it's a special server. Not because there's a lot of stuff in it, but there is one component that we'll see that is kind of special. So let's open Sesame. So here in Europe, when you order a server that has to be specially built, well, it's built in Hungary. So this one has been shipped from Hungary to me here in Denmark. And I have been waiting a long time to get my hands on one of these servers. I have asked Lenovo if they wouldn't think that it was a great idea to send me one of those, so that I could do some YouTube videos with them. They kind of haven't really bothered to reply, so I've had to buy this. My workplace I've had to buy this. So and I've driven to another data center just to show you this. This is the rails. They have come up with a new system for the rails. Come on, there. I have not seen these before, but it's an okay system. I mounted 2 of these servers yesterday. I did post that on Twitter, I guess. I posted some pictures that I had mounted these. It's always interesting how to mount these, and this is kind of the system. You put them in the rack, and there is a springy thing here, so that goes in and it locks it in place. It's quite a simple system, and the other end it's kind of another. It looks a little bit different. I mounted it. It works great. The server has some thingies on the side, and that slides into these slots here. That's a little bit hard to line up, I found. It takes a bit of practice, but yeah, it comes with a couple of rails. I forgot to order the cable management arm in this order, so I've actually ordered that today. It's gonna, I hope it's gonna be here in a couple of days. Oh, the rails come with a couple of screws that you can choose to screw in, or you can get rid of them. Like any other rack server, pretty well protected from everything. So we'll get rid of this foam. And for this server there is a very nice little box here, and that contains some kind of a manual. I looked through this, didn't look very interesting. Well, yeah, you need to be 2 people to lift those 18 kilograms. The server can weigh between 18 and 32 kilograms. A nice mess of every language in the world-ish. So get rid of that. Otherwise, there is 2 power cables in there. Yeah, not interesting at all. So let's get rid of that as well. Then we have a piece of cardboard there, and we can open up the rest here. That was what was in the box. Here is the server. It's not big. Remember these 2U servers as being longer, but I might be wrong. So I'm just gonna remove this protective foam thing, probably so that it doesn't get scratches on the production. Get rid of that. So here we have the server. Let's see the front, shall we? Okay, on the front we have these ears here, where you can also fasten your server. There's a screw in there, so you can mount it. If you don't want anyone to pull it out of the rack, well, you can mount it there. And it says ThinkSystem, which is their new brand. Then there's room for a lot of drives all of this way over here. A total of 24 drives, but this is 23. That's because they start at number 0 over here, which I'm not fond of that. There is no number 0 drive. I would start at number 1. Sorry. You can take these out. There is nothing in here. The server, I'm not sure if there's any backplane in any of these. Nope, no backplane whatsoever. We will get into why that is. Then there is a pull-out thing here where the serial number and the MAC address, yeah, that is written on that one. Over on this side, on the very side of the server, there's a tiny little power on button here. There's an ID, there's a network activity button, there is an exclamation mark here if something is wrong. That will light up. There is a USB 2 connector here, and it has a little screwdriver as well. Here you can actually connect like a tablet with a special app on it, and you can communicate directly with the server through that tablet. See status of it and stuff like that. So you can connect and communicate. It's like mounting a screen to it. And as you probably see, there is no screen connection in the front here. The screen connection is gone. That's a new thing. Usually Lenovo servers has always had the screen on the front, but with this version, that's gone. And then there is a USB 3 connection down here, plus that will always have power. So if you want something to be charging or always have power, you can connect it to that one. And there's another ear here. There is the model number and the serial number and stuff down here. So awesome. Let's go around the back. If we just scroll through that, we can see there's not a lot of stuff here. Yeah, definitely not a lot. That's because these servers are highly scalable. So over here we have the LOM, and that's where you can have your network connections. The server does not, as a standard, come with any network ports at all. You have to put in a network connection in this LOM thing. I have ordered this one with two 10 gigabit Ethernet, so there is that here. I could also have picked 4 1 gigabyte connections. I could have picked one with 4 10 gigabytes connections. Not sure how many other options there are available. Then we have an ID, and that's because there is an LED in here somewhere, and that will light up. If I press the blue button or the ID button on the front of the server, it will light up here. Then we have the IMM adapter, and that is located right there. Next to that, there is an LED for the exclamation mark, so if there's something wrong with the server in the front of the server, it will also tell you that on the back of the server. Then we have our good old VGA connection right here, and next to that, over here, there is 2 USB ports, which will be really great for a couple of like mouse and keyboard, or yeah, something like that. We didn't see that, but room for PCI Express connections here, 3 of them. Number 4 is there. Then there is 5 and 6, which is here. And if you look very closely, you will see that there's a graphics card in here. That's pretty easy to see, right? So there we have the power supplies, beefy 1100 watt power supplies. So let's have one of those out there. And I do believe that's the same form factor as we have seen in other recent Lenovo servers. And they're of course highly rated 80 plus platinum. So very power efficient power supplies, redundant solution. You can power the server from one power supply or from two power supplies, and that is all good. The power supplies has some LED indications here to tell you if the AC power is good. This is really great if you have a failure on the server and it's telling you that there's something wrong with a power supply. Well, if the AC LED is not green, well, the power supply is just not getting any power. If the DC power is not green, well, the power supply is not supplying a good DC power for the server. And if the exclamation mark, which is the yellow LED down here, is on, well, there's something wrong. So cool. I guess that's the back. There's a room for something over here. I don't know if you can expand something over there. That's interesting. The front of the server here, it's available in different models. You can, it looks like this one is prepared for 2.5-inch hard drives or SSDs. It would also be possible to put in NVMe drives, which they call something else in front of the server, which I have totally forgotten. Forget. But also a version with 3.5-inch drives are available, so you can actually, I think they put 12 drives in here in the front, 4 rows of 3 drives, 12 drives. So on the front of the server we get some additional information. Right there we get the information that it's made in Hungary, so that's important. There's a production date here, 27th of June 2018, so this is brand new. And we have an explanation right here how to mount it in the rails, which I did yesterday. It's a trick. You have to put the back in first and then pop the front down, but it's very difficult to do one man. And there's an explanation of how to get it out again, and then how to mount the back plane of the hard drives, which is down below here. And over here an explanation about the LEDs over here. So what does that do? Close up of those, LED description. Awesome, thank you. Okay, so on the front of the server there is the usual drawing about different stuff that you should be aware of inside of the server here. First we have a schematic of the system board down here. We have the RAMs, we have CPU 1, CPU 2, we have room for the RAID controller, we have PCI Express ports, we have different connections, and we have a list of all the things that they have marked out on the drawing over here, including some jumper ports. Well, you might need those. Number 12, what could number 12 be? That's a TPM/TCMPP jumper, and there's a normal and there is physical, blah blah blah. So pretty cool. There's also a clear password jumper. Okay, then there is an explanation of how to put in the RAM using the scalable CPUs. There is the issue that you have to put in 6 DIMMs at a time to get maximum performance, to balance the memory, and to get maximum performance to utilize the memory channels to each of the CPUs and so on. So there is not a lot of options to do this right. You can of course put in a little bit. You can of course just put in 1 block, but you won't get the maximum out of your server if you do that. Then there is an explanation of the PSU, the power supply, how that behaves, those LEDs, how they light up and don't light up, what the lights means when there is light in them and when there is no light in them. Then there is the internal RAID controller adapter, how to mount that, pop that in. Over here we have the back of the server, and it tells us that we have like 6 PCI Express ports available, 3 PCI Express ports here, 1 low profile there, 2 over here on top of the power supplies, and there's an explanation of what you can expect from the different riser cards there. Then there's the LOM adapter, how to put in that little network connections. It's usually used for network connections here. How to put it in and fasten it to the system board. Then we have the new thing here. These servers will run with the M2 drives, those little NVMe drives, which I'm not sure if they are actually NVMe drives or if they are SATA drives. Maybe we will find that out when we get into the server. But Lenovo has made their own little slot for those, which we will see in just a little bit. So let's have a look inside of the server. There's a little locking mechanism here, and I don't know why, but they have bothered me with locking that. That was definitely not necessary. Unlock that. Flathead screwdriver didn't fit very well. Then the cover comes off. Let's see, have they put anything? Nothing on the back. So here is the server. I must say, this looks half empty when you get in here. There's a lot of room here in the front for putting in hard drives. There are no backplanes in this whatsoever. There's a fan assembly right here, very easily removable. There, pops out. All the orange stuff here is hot pluggable, so you can open up the server and you can replace a fan like that. Pop in a new one and it's good to go. The special thing with this server is that it has a graphics card. This server is going to be used for some image processing. It's going to be installed with Windows Server, and there is going to be running Citrix on top of that, and then there is going to be some amount of people logging into this machine and accessing some special software through Citrix that is taking use of this GPU card. And I better go put on my wrist string thing here. So there is a really good, very expensive graphics card in this server. We'll just have a look at that. It's the Quadro. Don't they brag about this somewhere? I paid a fortune. They better put a label on. Yeah, it's an NVIDIA Quadro P6000 here, and well, that is mounted down into the server. It is nice to see that it can go there, and it is also nice to see that you can have one just like it over here, so that would be an option. Then there's a big muffler thing here to make sure that the air goes the right way through the server. So these fans are supplying all the airflow for the server. It splits it up. You can see the muffler here. Some of the air goes down, some of the air goes through these holes, which really yeah, probably it should have been closed up over here to not have the air go that way. I don't know why that isn't so, but there's room for different stuff. You can see there's like battery mounting here, also battery mounting over here, probably for the rate controller, which is not present in this server. Was supposed to go there, and room for the GPU cards to go in here, and some cable management and stuff. Then we have, oh, this looks very much like we are used to. We have 24 slots for memory here. We have 2 CPUs, CPU 1, CPU 2. These are some beefy bastards. I remember buying 8-core CPUs, but high frequency, because this server is going to be running Windows. So to optimize the licensing for Windows, I didn't want to go over 16 cores, because Windows Server you get 16 cores with one license. So with 2 8-core processors, you can maximize that. So there is those. Then we have some RAM. I can see that I've put about half amount of RAM in this server. I think I remember buying 192 gigabytes of RAM for it. So these are 16 gigabyte. It's DDR4 RAM, 16 gigabytes, and they're 2666. That must be 2666 megahertz. This with 2 CPUs, this server is half full of RAM blocks, and that is because of how the CPU works with their memory channels. Each CPU has 6 memory channels, and each memory channel has 2 RAM slots. So if I want to put more RAM in this server to get the maximum performance out of it, I have to put in 12 more blocks. The people that ordered this server, they only wanted 128 gigabytes of memory. That was not possible, and balancing the server, so I talked them into getting 192 gigabytes of memory, because then the server would be balanced and they would get the maximum performance out of the RAM and CPUs. So CPUs, good. It's the 6130. I might write it over here. They are good CPUs. They were like $2,000 a piece for just the CPUs. So what else do we have? We have some power control for the RAM and the CPUs down here on the system board. So over here we have a power connector here. Wonder what that is for. We have a power plug here for the graphics card. Let's have that up. That looks like a regular connection. I think it's a bit small. It says down here that it's able to supply 225 watts of power that way, so that should be enough. There is another one down here, and it also says 225 watts. So there is enough power to put in 2 beefy GPUs in here, that's for sure. I'm not sure what this is all about, but it kind of sits there. Yeah. Air buffalo required for proper cooling while system is running. So probably don't remove that. So yeah, cool. Then we have the hard drives in this, and that's these NVMe drives. And I'm curious as how does that work? Oh, so you just pop those out. And this is the redundant one. There are 2 NVMe drives here, one on each side. There's a kind of a PCB that controls that. I'm sure we can go in and configure that in some weird way. That's going to be very interesting to see how that works. Then there is 2 SSDs here, and I got some 480 gigabyte, and these are actually 5100 Pro. I did a video on some Hewlett Packard Enterprise drive the other day, and that was also 5100. This is SATA drive, so it's not NVMe drive. So this is the same as SSDs, but a redundant solution, and probably PCB in the middle here. I'm able to do some kind of rate on that, I'm guessing, because there's a tiny microcontroller there, or CPU. So yeah, cool. Let's pop that back in. It goes that way. And there's a couple of metal things to make sure that I do it right. Don't mess that up. Thank you very much for putting that in, so I don't have to break anything. Here is room for the RAID controller, for the drives, and down under the buffalo here we can see that LOM card, which you can take out and replace with something else if you need 1 gigabit connections, or if you need 4 10 gigabit connections, or whatever. Different options are available. And down beneath under this, I'm guessing very much that Intel has hidden away their chipset. Probably that becomes hot because I'm not used to seeing such a big heatsink on top of that. There are some chips here that I have no idea what this could be. Might be the IMM living over here somewhere. Nice. I see there is a little reset button up here. There, so it might be possible to reset the IMM, and they did actually also put a little IMM out here so that you could see that there is a reset button. We didn't see that when we were going through the back of the server, but there is something there. So down here, this cable goes to the front of the server, so probably some of the buttons and LEDs is controlled that way. Same thing with this, also goes to the front, Not sure what the cable does, but probably same thing. Then there's something down here called FP-VGA. I'm guessing very much that that's the front panel VGA port, so you can put a VGA connection on the front of the server, and that would be plugged in there. Then we have a TCM connector there. What else do we have? Anything interesting? ROM programming connector right there. I turned the server around to have a look at the other side. We forgot something. They have put in these pieces of plastic. It represents RAM blocks. It's probably so that you can take these out, put them in, and the airflow will be the same. So the airflow is not going to change if you have more or less RAM in it, as long as you remember to put those in. Down here we have some connections for front NVMe drives there, 2 of them. This one says NVMe 0 to 1, and this one says NVMe 2 to 3. So that would go up in front of the server and connect to some drives or NVMe's up there. There is not a lot of stuff in this server. So if you fully spec this server, there is room for 3 terabytes of RAM in those 24 slots. That's a lot of RAM. To do that, you need the special scalable CPUs that are able to handle 1.5 terabytes of RAM each. There are 2 different models of this scalable CPUs. One of them will handle 768 gigabytes per CPU. So that with 2 of those, the server would be able to handle 1.5 terabytes of RAM. If you select the very expensive CPUs that can handle 1.5 terabytes of RAM, and they have an M in the model number, last character is an M, it will handle 3 terabytes. Did I really not take more out than that? Amazing. So the server would go in like this. The bottom would come up first, except this would be straight, and the server would be leaning up. This is the front, this is the back, so the back would be leaning down. It would meet up with the rail here, and that would pop up, except the server would pop down. So yeah, there's a slot for it to pop in, and it sits rather well when it's handled. Okay, to slide it in, they have put a little switchy thing here, which opens it up, and it will slide in when you do that. And it has a locking mechanism for that. So when a new toy like this drops in, my channel name is okay again. My PlayHouse, new toy to play with, the Lenovo SR650. I've been looking forward for over a year to get a good look at this, and it was not easy. But now I got 3 of these. 2 of them are in a data center where I would be cleaning out my disk very quickly if I brought a camera in there. This one is going in another data center where filming is not very good. So I brought it down here to this data center just to have a good look at it. And now I'm gonna bring it back. It's a bit sad because I'm sure I could find some rack space for this at my PlayHouse. That would be nice. But I really need the Lenovo X3650 Model 5 for my collection. So I'm saving up for that one. So thank you very much for watching my videos. Do subscribe to my channel so that you can see me again. And have a really nice day. Bye bye.